This is a formal statement and apology to Mr. Dan Stevens and his lovely wife. Mr. Stevens, in the next 12 or so months, if you see me lurking on your doorstep, peeking in through your window, or following you in public, it is due to Randy Schick. Randy Schick convinced me to watch the film The Guest, directed by Adam Wingard, of which you were phenomenal, as well as tremendously sexy. So for that, I deeply apologise if you find me stalking you and you feel that your safety is being compromised by my antics. I do apologise. 2015, everybody. Welcome. Frog in the throat. So yes, as you can guess, I'm going to be reviewing Adam Wingard's, or Wingard's I should say, The Guest, made in 2014. I'm going to be incredibly vague in talking about this movie because I find the best way to enjoy this is to go out and see it for yourself. But I will say that it is a beautiful amalgamation of the 1980s action/horror movies, as well as art house, and with a little bit of, shall we say, French Nouveau. That's all I'm going to say about the style. So, The Guest is incredibly simple in its premise. So, it sees a young army veteran named David, and he comes to stay with a family. Now, he says that he knew the son of the family who had been killed in the war, and he's a really nice guy, very helpful, very kind, very respectful. So the family let him stay in the house. But it's not very long until some very strange and very violent things start to happen, and bodies start to drop everywhere. The Guest, it was a humongous surprise to me. My friend Randy, he said that it is one of the best films that he had seen last year. Now, Randy is a man of very discriminating and yet very good taste. That was for you. And he said that I should really go and see The Guest because Dan Stevens, the main actor, is phenomenal. Now, Dan Stevens has been known to me for quite some time, ever since 2006. He's in Downton Abbey, which I watch quite regularly, don't judge. And yeah, so his existence was never unknown to me, and I like his acting. But in The Guest, I was not seeing Dan Stevens. I was seeing an entity. An entity that can only come out of an 80s action sci-fi movie. He is so good. He is the movie. Now, that's not to say the rest of the movie is shallow or badly made. It's not. But Dan Stevens is like the anchor. He put himself through so much training and rigor, and just he pushed himself to the extreme to make this movie, and you can see it in his performance, the way he looks, the way he dresses, even to his smallest gestures, playing the character of David. That is all Dan Stevens, and he has been ably directed, and he's aided by a wonderful yet very simplistic story. He is the movie. And if he is not recognised by the general public in 2015, I'm going to be deeply, deeply disappointed. Not to mention very, very unhappy that people aren't sitting up and paying attention to this guy. He is great. Very, very great. So the rest of the movie is no slouch either. The way it looks is like if it was crossed with Drive, as well as Terminator and Halloween. It's got that very distinctive 1980s VHS era style. I can just see The Guest being at the back of a video shop back in the 1980s, early 90s, and it would be on the back shelf there, and you just pick it up because of how cool the box art would look. And then you put it in and you watch it and you think, this is a really fun movie. And it's not just a fun movie, it is a good movie. It knows its strengths. It doesn't try to be any more than what it is, but it is not afraid to push the envelope. There's nothing in this movie that really sort of pornographizes, violence or nudity or anything like that. This movie is very content in what it is, And towards the third act of the movie, it is incredibly self-aware, but at the same time, it's not like an obnoxious sort of a wink wink, nudge nudge, pinch on the bottom sort of thing. It doesn't try to force itself on your perceptions. What it does on its own terms, and it is very, very comfortable with telling the story it wants to tell. It invites the audience to open their minds, but it does not force them to submit to their will. And that's how you do a proper seduction. This movie is incredibly seductive. It has a lot of sort of unexpected twists and turns, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's trying to impose some sort of ironclad will on you. It's so deft, it's so masterfully crafted, but at the same time, it makes no pretenses about what it is. It's great. The soundtrack of this movie is really, really good. I need to get this soundtrack. It's got beautiful synthesizer. It sounds like John Carpenter's early 80s science fiction action films, like Escape from New York, The Thing, a little bit of Halloween in there. It's really, really good. You also have some really great songs in this soundtrack. I need to download them. Everything about this film has everything going for it. Now, Lingard directed You're Next back in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, and it was very, very overhyped. It was good, don't get me wrong, and Shani Vinson was really good in her role. She sort of like helped make the film stay together. Same can be said with Dan Stevens, but in the case of The Guest, it has a lot more money and economy to work with, and it benefits. Yet suspiciously enough, while Your Next got a lot of hype and a lot of publicity, The Guest got some really good critical reviews, but it sort of like fell off the map. And I'm very curious, because this film checks all the blank spaces, if that is what you're looking for. And also, I must make a point of saying this. Wingard is very, very good at displaying the female gaze without making it seem forced. What do I mean by that? Well, the female gaze is kind of like the opposite to the male gaze, and the male gaze is like, I'm sure you all know about that, but the way he is able to sort of make the male and female characters in his movies look attractive, but at the same time, he doesn't objectify them. I mean, sure, Dan Stevens goes shirtless quite a few times in the movie, but his worth is not rested on how he looks. It is all in Stevens' talent that really makes him endure. Same can be said for Shani Vinson in You're Next. She's very good looking. She has a very sort of girl next door sort of look to her, but at the same time, she is not objectified on the screen. The camera doesn't like ooze up and down her body in a fetishistic manner. Both of these movies are very good, but to me, The Guest stands head and shoulders above You're Next, just because of the fact it had more budget and had some really good, consistent acting to the rest of the movie. So yes, I give The Guest a 4.5 out of 5. I only wish that this film had received more publicity and more attention, because God knows it really deserves it. So please, go out and see this movie, and for the love of God, enjoy it and support it, and make sure that Dan Stevens could be in the running to be the next James Bond. You know it, I know it. Okay guys, so I shall see you later, and thank you again for tuning in for my new rant and review. I'll see you later. Bye bye.